Gavin, thank you for joining us. It's Youth Development Week. What does that mean to you and the Academy?
First of all, it sort of highlights how quickly a year goes, because I know it comes around at the same time each year, and football is very fast paced. For me, in terms of what it means is, one, it's a celebration of, I suppose, the great work that's going on across the country for youth development, across all clubs, at all levels as well. But specifically, as you know, our interest is in what we do at Cardiff City, and immensely proud of the work that the staff do, the hours they put in to enrich the lives of our young people at the club, and generally reflect proudly. I still think there's loads to improve upon, and it's all about the chase for us getting better each and every day. And I think the children and the staff really buy into that.
You spoke about your pride there. This week gives us a chance to reflect on the season. How do you reflect on this campaign as a whole for the Academy?
Largely positive. You know, in terms of the teams where, you know, at the top end of the spectrum, if you like, 18s and 21s have gone deep in cup competitions, have qualified for certain others, have been competitive in their league programme throughout the majority of the season, and put in some really good performances against Category 1 opposition as well. Throughout the rest of the sort of pyramid, if you like, in terms of the 16s all the way down to the pre-academy, and some real success of guys sort of really producing good performances. And indeed, you know, one barometer of success would be, again, going deep in cup competitions and being really competitive. But the most important thing for me is the long-term plan and seeing the individual growth of the players. That individual growth of the players requires a hell of a lot of things to come together to make that work. You know, the parents, it's easy to forget those. They're a massive stakeholder for us, and the level of commitment that they put into their child to ensure that they can be at the academy is huge. But then it's the support network around it. You know, we look at development as the whole person development, not just the football aspect. And they go through highs, they go through lows, huge growth, affected situations as well, success, failure to a certain extent, selection, deselection, injury, and the staff and indeed then the family are there to sort of make sure that sort of scaffold is around them so that they can come to the academy and give their best self. And that's the bit I'm most proud of, really. You know, to see children coming into the academy, smiles on their faces, ready to give their best self. There's times where that does get challenged. It's naturally going to be a motive environment, but really proud of the work that the staff are doing.
I'm thinking specifically about development. Of course, that looks different for different players. Some players this season have gone out on loan. Some players involved in our games programme with 18s, 21s and lower than that as well. Some have been in a first team environment this season. Do you think that's on a case-by-case basis and individual for each player, that development?
I think it's a really important point, but that doesn't just go for the boys at the top end at the moment that are trying to sort of transition into a more senior environment. That goes for the children across the academy. You know, what we have to do is get the level of challenge right, but then with the level of challenge, we need to get the level of support right. Sometimes that level of support is strategically almost removed to a certain extent, and other times then it's really overt and sort of present for the young person. So, you know, they're able to embrace whatever challenge comes their way. And you know, football, like life, doesn't have a traffic light system of when a challenge is going to come. So we need to build resilience in our young people, but do that responsibly so that they approach every challenge in the right manner. You specifically referred to the boys out on loan, similar to when maybe boys are playing up in age in the academy. You know, they sort of meet new people, they feel it's a little bit of a different environment maybe, or there's a different level of challenge. And we try and set them up for those moments so that, you know, everything is a journey that prepares them for what they will eventually, hopefully, face in the first team environment and hopefully at Cardiff City Stadium. Specifically looking at the loans, that becomes even more tailored because, you know, what does a player need on loan? You know, we've sent players out on loan that require certain sort of demands of their game, you know, maybe a more physical league, maybe a more direct playing style, you know, particularly from a defensive aspect. You know, for attacking players, we consider the sort of style of play. Are they going to get enough repetition in that area of the field to sort of really develop and hone their craft? But any loan is designed with growth of the player in mind, and strategically, hopefully, it gets them out on Cardiff City Stadium.
I'm thinking more off the field now, development in the academy. It's so values driven, and we've seen on so many different occasions and so many instances where players have had a real benefit to the community, which is something you must be so proud of.
Yeah, really proud. For me, it's important, right? We've got to reflect our city. That's massive for us. You say values driven. I'm really pleased to even, you know, hear you talking about that type of stuff. But that for us is a journey. Yeah, it's not really a destination. We're certainly not perfect in all of those, but we're trying to get better each day. But those sort of community sort of engagement pieces, where we see the guys go out and sort of really sort of, do a real day's work, if you know what I mean. I think the players have got a lot from that as well. They appreciate how lucky they are to sort of play football, and particularly play football for this football club. But also it just sort of, sometimes just sort of gets them away from football, because sometimes it can be a little bit of a bubble, and sample some more realness as well, which again just sort of further spurs them on. We've had sort of events where they mirror people around the stadium, mirror those jobs, seeing people working in the ticket office, in the club shop, in corporate, in security, with the ground staff on match day, just to name a few, because we want them to know that to get them out on that field requires a lot of people to come together. And we talked earlier about, development. There's nothing that can ever replicate the feeling of one of our own coming through and scoring in front of the canton. Nothing. That gives the whole club a massive lift, because we've got a saying that everyone does development. To get those boys up in the field, we need people in finance, we need people in commercial, we need people in media, we need people in medical. All parts of the club come together to hopefully see a boy that started a journey with us maybe at 6-7 years of age come out onto Cardiff City Stadium. So when we talk about Development Week, it's a celebration of the work that goes around all around the country. It's a celebration of the work that goes into the academy, but also it's a celebration of all the work that everyone does around the football club that allows us to hopefully produce our own.
And obviously when considering development, it's so often spoken about developing the person as well as the player, but that's so important, isn't it, even though it's spoken about very often?
Yeah, hugely. We want to be reflective of our community, and generally Welsh people are very welcoming, hard-working, industrious people. We want that from our young players as well, and they are, because of the communities they get brought up in, but we want to really endorse that within the academy as well. The whole person approach is so important, because they act responsibly, they take on board, I suppose, accountability for their actions as well. And look, the truth of football is that they're all fighting for a dream, right? But not everyone will make it. But what I'm really proud of is, whilst we've seen some real success in, boys stepping out in the field and some of the shirts behind me, what we've also seen is real success in life of people who've gone on to maybe study in university, for example, maybe gone abroad, maybe applied their trade elsewhere, maybe finding a different career path, but still managing to play a good level of football. And that for us is really something to be proud of as well.
We'll just finish off. You said earlier you're not quite at the stage that you want to be, and there's still steps to go to. In terms of our development as an academy, what does that look like now, the next steps going forward?
I think that we can always get better in every department. The staff are constantly pushing themselves to get better. The we, not me thinking is a vital part of us and our growth. The new academy I keep on saying the new academy, it's been there a while now, at Llanrumney, with the investment that's continued, I think will pay dividends. I think that the general positivity about young players at the football club is something that we can all be proud of, and something that we're thankful for as well. I still think that the best is yet to come in terms of maybe transitioning more into the first team environment. I have to say, first team staff have been really good in terms of improving upon our training minutes. That is the amount of time that our 21s players, for example, and 18s players sample training experiences with the first team, because they get to know what good looks like, sounds like, and feels like. They get to be around people who've had incredible careers, and off the back of that, that just serves as motivation. So I think we can do more in that space. Really pleased with where we're at in terms of how the boys have adapted when they've gone into the first team. And, longer term, I think that, the future of the club is in good hands with some players that I really believe in. But at the moment, now's the time just to sort of let them settle down, let them keep learning their craft, keep their humility, and hopefully if we all do our jobs right, we might see some good players out there in the future.